So you've probably seen that the Irish government has released the 1926 census for the Irish Free State. Firstly, what does that mean? It means that it is the 26 counties that are in the modern day Republic of Ireland. So it doesn't include the six counties that are in Northern Ireland, which are part of the UK. Having figured that out, where do you go to look at it? Let's have a look. So the easiest way to find it is just to Google Irish 1926 census, but you can go directly to the National Archives homepage and they have it highlighted right there for you. And this is our main search page. And I want to just briefly explain to you how the search works and how to find the actual form. So we are going to do a search for Martha Callahan. Now, I know what county Martha lived in, but you might not know. So you can just select all the counties or you can drill down to the one you are interested in. If there was a common name, you could also put in a street, but I actually recommend just starting with the name and the county you're interested in. In this case, it's not a common name, so let's just go for a search. And we see actually that there's only five results for Martha Callahan. And notice that O'Callaghan has come up as well. And that's really helpful because sometimes people swapped between using an O or a Mac surname and not using it. And it's still considered to be the same surname in the past. Now, if you had a lot of results on this page, you could do some extra things to give you more information to help you narrow down at this point. You can change the number of items per page to a bigger number if there's lots, or you can also sort by one of these categories. You can also show extra information that would help you narrow down and you can do a filter. So again, you could filter here by county if you wanted to. You could filter by age. Oh, I'm only interested in people who are in their 20s, for example. And that brings us to a smaller list. Let's take a look at a person page. So we click on this Martha who is in Enniscorthy. And this is our person page. So we get the transcription of some of Martha's details here. We get that she's on Shannon Street, but notice it doesn't tell us what number on Shannon Street she is. And at this stage, we see that she's a single woman, age 26. We don't know who's living in her household. So if we want to have a look at that first, we can click on this view household record and we get a transcription of all the people who are in her household and we see that what this looks like to be a family group, probably Joseph and Mary and then their children. But if you want to see the household return, you've got to go back to the single record and click on this household form A1. It opens in a new tab and it's a nice high resolution scan, which is a PDF. And we can zoom up and we can see here is Martha on entry number 4, and she is indeed a daughter in this household. She's 26 years and 3 months old. She's a woman, she's single, and she's born in Enniscorthy, County Wexford. The whole family are born there, in fact. They're all Catholics. And then we see their occupations. So the dad's a brewer, and then these two women are home duties. They're working in the home. And then we've got a couple of people who are different things. So Martha herself is a seamstress, and it says own account. So that means she's running her own business. She's probably taking in sewing at home. And then there's a couple of other people. This guy here is out of work. You see, it says out of work for 8 weeks. And then the youngest child in the family who is Patrick, is still at school because he's only 10. So this is our basic form. And we also get a little bit of information about the parents here. So anybody who's married, it puts in how long have they been married and how many children they've had born alive. And then this column is telling you how many children in that family are under 16, regardless of whether they live there or not. So that's an important category if somebody was a widow or their children were grown up, but they might be living somewhere else. It's useful to look at. If we go back to the main page for a second, you also see these things. You might be going, what on earth is this about? So this is going to tell us about the street that the family live on. Now, Shannon Street's a long street. So when you look at your search results, you might only find that there's one line in this house and building return form B1. But let's look at one of them now just to get a quick look at what's on them. And again, it's a nice clear zoom scan, which we can zoom up. And what we see here is that this at the top explains where we're looking at. And it says here that it's Shannon Street in the District Electoral Division of Enniscorthy Urban, which is in County Wexford. And you can see here that the number 7, number 8, and so on. And at the bottom, there's a Mercy Convent, which is going to have nuns in it. And then on this column over here, This, if it was something other than a convent, if it was a pub, for example, it might say public house or shop. So these are all houses. That's basically what these lines mean here. And then we get the name of the head of the household in each house case. So the Callahans aren't actually on this page, but we can still look at it as an example. So let's look at number 12, John O'Brien, which is going to be a very common name. And we get some little details, whether whether the form has been collected for his household, how many men, how many women in the household, and how many rooms there are in the house. So John O'Brien is just a man and a woman living in his house, and they have 6 rooms, so they've got a nice big house there. Um, and this is what the information shows us. So down here, we see this is a convent, and there's a nun who's the head of that household. And you can see that there are 19 women living in that. So that's going to be all nuns, very likely. So do make sure that you take a look at your household and house return because you get a sense of the family's socioeconomic status from how many rooms are in the house, how many other families live in that same building. And the ones we saw there, are all single units. So, house number 9 seems to be just one family. But if you're in Dublin or you're in Cork City, you might see tenements where there's many, many different families living in the house. And they might just have one room, they might have 2 rooms, something like that. So I hope that this brief video has been useful in helping you navigate how to find people on the census in the first instance. If you're not finding them, a couple of things to suggest. First of all, were they living in Northern Ireland? And that might be the most obvious thing, but you might not think of it. If they were living in Northern Ireland, they're not going to be on this census. Secondly, you might have a different spelling for the name that they have on the census. So you can try different versions of the spelling. And in the comments, I'll put a couple of links to finding places that will help you find variant spellings of the name. Also, I have noticed that some ages are mistranscribed in the census. So if you were looking for someone and you thought they were about 30, make sure you look at other people who have a similar age or even a wildly different one, but look like they could be right otherwise, because it might just be a transcription error on their age. Hopefully this is helpful. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to see, and I will try and do a video on it soon. Thanks for watching.